In 1980, two teenage parents were murdered. Their baby daughter vanished without a trace. For 42 years, her name was listed as missing, until advanced genealogical DNA testing changed everything. Before we uncover how this impossible mystery was finally solved, take a second to subscribe to Darkest Crimes, because stories like this deserve to be told, and your support helps us bring justice-driven cases back into the light. Now, let's go back to where it all began. October 1980, Houston, Texas. John Clouse was 17 years old. Tina Gail Lynn was just 15. They were young, recently married, and raising their infant daughter, Holly Marie Clouse. To outsiders, they were just teenagers trying to find their way in the world. But behind the scenes, something was already unraveling. In October 1980, John's body was found in Houston. Tina's remains would not be identified for decades. They had been killed, and they had been left there like they didn't matter. Police identified them as John and Tina Clouse. But investigators immediately noticed something chilling. Their baby daughter was missing. There was no sign of her anywhere near the crime scene. No remains, no evidence she had been harmed. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. And that raised a terrifying question. Was she taken, or was she still out there somewhere? Investigators believe members of a small, nomadic religious group the couple had been traveling with may have had information about the case. When authorities tried to trace them, the group could not be located. Police feared the worst, but there was no body, no proof of death. So Holly Marie Clouse was entered into the National Missing Persons System. Age, 1 year old. Status, missing. And then, time began to pass. Years turned into decades. John and Tina's parents refused to give up hope. They clung to one belief. If Holly wasn't found near the bodies, maybe she was alive. Birthdays came and went. Holidays passed with an empty seat at the table. The Clouse grandparents kept photos of Holly as a baby, the only images they had, wondering what she might look like now. Would she have her mother's smile? Her father's eyes? Meanwhile, investigators hit wall after wall. The religious group was difficult to trace. Members changed names. They avoided authorities. Records were sparse. The case slowly turned cold. And cold cases have a cruel way of fading into silence. But this one was different. Because there was no closure, no grave, no answers. Just a missing child who might still be alive. More than 4 decades later, technology had changed. DNA science had advanced beyond what 1980 investigators could have imagined. In 2021, the Texas Attorney General's Cold Case and Missing Persons Unit reopened the Clouse case. Not because of a new witness, not because of a confession, but because of genealogy. Forensic genealogy had already helped identify unknown murder victims across the country. It worked by uploading DNA profiles into public databases and searching for distant relatives. If Holly had ever taken a consumer DNA test, or if any relative had, there was a chance. A small one, but a chance. Investigators submitted DNA from John and Tina's family members into genealogical databases. Then they waited. Days passed, weeks passed, and then a match appeared. Not a direct hit, but close enough to raise eyebrows. A woman living under a completely different name in another state. Her DNA confirmed she was the biological daughter of John and Tina Clouse, which meant only one thing. Holly Marie Clouse was alive. 42 years after she vanished, a woman in her 40s received an unexpected call from law enforcement. At first, she thought it was a mistake. Authorities explained gently, carefully. They asked if she knew who her biological parents were. She did, or at least she thought she did. But the truth was about to unravel everything she believed. They told her her parents hadn't abandoned her. They hadn't given her away. They had been murdered. And for more than 4 decades, her biological family had been searching. The woman listened in disbelief. Her name, the one she had always known, wasn't the name she was born with. She wasn't who she thought she was. She was Holly Marie Clouse, the missing baby from 1980. Investigators pieced together what likely happened. After John and Tina were murdered, investigators believe members of the religious group may have taken Holly. She was raised within that community for part of her childhood before eventually living a more conventional life. Authorities stated there was no indication Holly had been physically harmed. She grew up believing a different story about her origins, one that did not involve her parents' deaths. For 42 years, two parallel lives existed. On one side, grandparents grieving, wondering, hoping. On the other, a woman building a family of her own, unaware of the tragedy that shaped her existence. Until DNA bridged the gap. When Holly met members of her biological family for the first time, the moment was emotional beyond words. Her grandparents had passed away before the reunion could happen, a heartbreaking twist. But other relatives were there. They saw in her the reflection of John, the warmth of Tina, features frozen in time, carried forward unknowingly. For the Clouse family, it wasn't just a reunion, it was proof they had been right to hope. All those years, all those unanswered questions, they hadn't been in vain. Even with Holly found alive, one mystery remains heavy. Who killed John and Tina? Investigators believe members of the religious group may have been involved, but no one has been convicted. The murders remain officially unsolved. And that adds a haunting layer to this story, because while Holly was found, justice for her parents is still pending. Somewhere out there, someone knows what happened in 1980, and one day, DNA may expose that truth too. This wasn't just a missing persons case, it was a testament to perseverance, to grandparents who never stopped believing, to detectives who reopened a file others might have left buried, to science evolving enough to rewrite history, and to a woman who discovered, in a single moment, that her entire life story had another chapter she never knew existed. 42 years is a lifetime. Most cases that old end in tragedy. This one ended in reunion. But it also serves as a reminder. Cold doesn't mean forgotten. Missing doesn't always mean gone. And sometimes the smallest strand of DNA can echo across decades. If this story moved you, if you believe forgotten cases deserve a second chance, make sure you're subscribed to Darkest Crimes, because the next breakthrough could already be happening, and we'll be here to tell it. What do you think really happened to John and Tina in 1980? Let me know in the comments, and until the next case, stay aware.